Hey everyone, Sean and Dave here from the Saturday Morning Cartoons podcast. We cannot start this episode. We can absolutely not start this episode without thanking the following people who went to our patreon.com and support the show. So thank you,
Bill Dixon,
Fangirly,
Jack Connolly,
Alice Kazanis,
Derek Haynes,
Melanie Harker,
Dr. Jason Woods,
Allison Keene,
Battle Mat Fitness,
Westbourne East Bred,
John Richard Helter II,
Dave Trumbore III.
damn it, again, and the one and only Sean Paul Ellis. Hey, listeners out there, if you want to get on this list of super cool people, we'd love it if you'd head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons. Remember, that's morning with a U, to see how you can support the podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from the back alley, I'll be your junkyard cat, Dave Trumbore. Joining me as always and terrorizing the neighborhood since 1984, it's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, bud?
David, I'm doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. You out there just caterwauling, carrying on, having
Yeah.
a good time?
Well, I'm about to get a live performance in this back alley right here.
I mean, that's why I'm here. Saw the flyer.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know. We came. We have somebody who's about to perform, do a little bit of operatic cat meowing music in the background.
Are you doing
for us.
operatic or operatic? Am I watching a surgical operation or an opera performance?
Both.
But I thought so because it was spelled both ways on the flyer, so I was a little confused.
Right. Well, isn't that a homophone?
I don't know if we can say that in this day and age, but yeah, that's probably.
Oh, come on, Jesus Christ. Oh, no, I'm looking forward because guess what? Coming onto stage right now to perform in this back alley, we've got Washington, D.C.-based performer and artist Alex Kazanis. Welcome, Alex.
Hey. It's a great day.
Applause.
So you're just going to do a bunch of meows now, right? It's just a lot of just kind of, clearing your throat and then just like meow, meow, meow.
Conjure up
meow,
your
meow,
best
meow.
Mel Blanc. Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, that's all he ever did. Because
Yeah,
I honestly couldn't tell the difference between his character and his most famous characters.
Heathcliff and Bugs Bunny. Wow. Yeah.
Got paid a lot of money to do a Bugs Bunny voice.
You have to wonder at the end of somebody's, like towards the end of somebody's career, like once they've hit kind of critical saturation with Bugs Bunny, why Heathcliff? That's the career question that I'm interested in answering tonight. We won't get to the bottom of this. Dave's making the sign for money. He made
Always
that sign for money last week. It's always the money.
Always funny to do on an audio podcast to make a visual joke.
The finger thing means taxes.
Oh no, he's playing a violin, right?
The smallest one.
That he just bought with his Heathcliff money.
Guys, speaking of Heathcliff money, we wouldn't be here today and we wouldn't be able to have this wonderful conversation. We wouldn't be here today, which we totally would be here today, but don't worry. But we are very excited to have some Heathcliff money in the form of our sponsor that we have this week. And so to learn a little bit more about our sponsor for this week, we're going to turn it over to our good buddy, Bobby Anthem. Bobby, take it away.
Hey, SMC listeners. Bobby Anthem here to tell you about our first sponsorship with Spunk Lube. Yeah, that's right, Spunk Lube. Look, we know you're listening to a podcast about cartoons, but let's be honest, you're not a kid anymore. So when you've got adult things going on, reach for Spunk Lube. Our SMC listeners have a chance to get lucky and win a free sample of Spunk Lube. But right now, everybody can get some of this special offer. Go to spunklube.com and use the offer code SMC at checkout to get 10% off any order. That's spunklube.com and use the code SMC for 10% off your order. Now, on with the show.
Sexy as always.
Always. That is the kind of cat that I want to have meowing in the backyard alley.
Wow.
What?
That is the kind of cat you want to have meowing in the back. The innuendo's there.
Oh, damn it.
I love it.
Busted on this one.
I love it. That's strong wordplay.
Bobby, I'm not mixing words with that friend. I'm just simply saying, awesome to have you do this for
Hey, what are we talking about tonight?
Oh, man. We were talking about Heathcliff. And it turns out that because this is Listener Appreciation Month, we had somebody on the Twitter, somebody named The Garb, who wanted us to do this with Garb with 2 B's. The Garb really wanted us to
not
get
that other
in.
Garb.
Yeah, not the guy, that other Garb, but at The Garb wanted us to get into some Heathcliff. And so The Garb, get ready, buddy. This is for you tonight.
Oh, it's not a pen name for Garbfield. Oh, let's hear this. Let's see if this guy's talking about the other orange cat.
Yeah, like a Gazorpazorp.
Oh, yeah, Gazorpazorp.
Exactly. So yeah, we're talking about Heathcliff, and if you are not familiar with Heathcliff, let me give you a little bit of history. Heathcliff, aka Heathcliff and the Catillac Cats, and that is Catillac, not Cadillac with the D. Oh, so you see, we're already in Punville tonight. Is an animated television series produced by Deke Entertainment that debuted in September of 1994 and was the second series based off of George Gately's Heathcliff comic strip. It ran its syndication until 1988 with a total of 86 episodes, so it passed our 65 for syndication mark, which was pretty great.
For better or worse?
With each episode including an additional segment featuring the Catillac Cats. And so for a lot of these episodes, a lot of these 86, they are broken into one Heathcliff specific episode and then one specific Catillac Cats specific episode. Occasionally, they would have some crossovers. The first show based on the comic strip was Heathcliff and Dingbat, Heathcliff and Marmaduke, which debuted in 1980 and was produced by Ruby Spears. So again, this was Heathcliff and Dingbat, and then with a slash in it, Heathcliff and Marmaduke. Because if you weren't getting enough of Heathcliff, here he is with 2 cameo characters. For one is definitely a cartoon that I would always avoid in the funny pages.
Wow.
Yeah. Catillac Cats characters were created by Jean Chalopin and Bruno Bianchi. Animation was outsourced to many Japanese, Taiwanese, and Korean studios, including TMS, Studio Korumi, Wang Film, Cockadoo's Nest, Mushi, Ariki, and others for the first season before Deke utilized their own private Japanese studio. And of course, as we mentioned, Mel Blanc provided the voice of Heathcliff.
I want to know more about 2 animation studios, one of which is made up, and one of which is made up. I'm interested in Wang Film.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm interested in whatever Cockadoo's Nest is.
Yeah. It's like Cuckoo's Nest.
Cockadoo. You guys see that movie, the Stephen King, Kathy Bates one, Misery?
Misery? Yeah.
Like, that's a bunch of cockadoodie, right? She says that instead
just a bunch of cockadoo-hoo.
Yeah. I think she curses. She just uses these made-up swears.
And then they went and made an animation studio based on it.
Hey.
Weird.
And then they made an animated version of Misery. Guys, we need to get our hands on that for this October.
Would watch.
Spooky Tunes. Would watch.
Hey, let me ask you real quick. Which comic strip did you pass over?
I was never a big fan of Marmaduke.
It just seemed, I don't remember anything like standing out about it except a big goofy dog.
Yeah,
Is that it?
I feel like every Marmaduke, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Alex, because I feel like every Marmaduke was that family doing a poor job of integrating that poor dog into their family, and then him being a dog, and them getting upset at him being a dog. And when I say upset, I mean it was like on the spectrum of, oh, you, to like, we're getting rid of that fucking dog.
Yeah, Marmaduke comics were always, the joke was, that's a very big dog. And like, yeah, it's a huge dog. You brought this upon yourselves. You bought this gigantic dog. Yeah.
It's not like Clifford. Like Clifford the big
Thank
red
you.
dog, A, for kids, B, they like deal with it, and Clifford's a bro.
And C, they didn't realize that Clifford was going to be that big of a dog. They bought him
Right.
as a small red pup, and then he grew into that.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody loved him.
Where when you get a Great Dane, you expect it to be like a small horse.
To Marmaduke's owners, y'all fucked up.
You're fucked up. And we're not reading your comics. However, we will read and watch Heathcliff. Maybe, at least for this episode. Hey, if you don't know what Heathcliff is about and you're wondering why we're not talking about Garfield instead, let me give you an idea of the breakdown of this here animated series. So Heathcliff, the title character, is an orange, street-smart, comical, and apparently trigger-happy cat who spends most of his time trying to turn a dustbin over onto people's heads. Basically the premise right there. A street cat and quick-thinking trickster who loves to fight anyone, except girls, Heathcliff will also lie, cheat, and steal to get himself some food. But despite it all, he is apparently a good guy. The Catillac Cats, on the other hand, are a gang of cats led by Riff Raff, who live in a junkyard. When Riff Raff's not around, they sometimes help Heathcliff in adventures or sometimes tease him. They drive a slick Cadillac, which could transform into an RV and a boat. Catillac Cats. I almost got through that one. Do you know if Cadillac Cats ever ended up in the comic strip, or is this just like a weird thing that they tacked on for this animated series?
I always thought it was a weird thing that they tacked on.
Yeah, I don't think that they showed up in the comic at all. Riff Raff is so much like Heathcliff anyway that like there'd be no point.
Riff Raff is like a weird kind of like southern landed gentry, kind of like walks with a cane, always has a scheme going on. It's a very strange character.
With a rerun hat.
They don't really know what to do with him.
I don't know.
Which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
But did you guys watch this growing up at all? Did you ever watch Heathcliff, Alex?
So I watched a fuck ton of Heathcliff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I hated it. Like
Just the good old-fashioned hate watch.
Yeah, Heathcliff has the very great distinction of being the first show that I hate watched. It was just always on. They would always show reruns on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
It was always fucking on, so I would watch it, and I never liked it, like at all. I was just lamenting, like, why is this not Garfield and Friends, a show I would have rather have been watching at the time. Heathcliff he annoyed me, but not as much as Riff Raff and the Cadillac Cats.
Oh, really?
I fucking hated the Cadillac Cats.
Wow.
I love that you like watched Heathcliff and just like trudged through it, and then when Riff Raff came on, you were like, "Now I'm real fucking pissed."
Yeah. I think the character of Wordsworth,
don't even get me
the
started.
roller skating, headphone wearing, rhyming cat was the one that I really hated. I thought his voice was stupid, and I hated that he rhymed. Following the great tradition of Roadblock and other rhyming cartoon characters in the 80s.
Who was it? Who was it? Sean in Botsmaster. Who was the rapping
I don't know.
robot?
It was Rapbot.
Was it Cook?
Yeah, I think it was the Cook.
I think it was the Cook. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think you needed, like, rap was big, so rap is just rhyming, right? Just have this fucking cat.
Like,
It was white people's cartoon rap writing. Is what it was.
It was white people in the 80s trying to understand rap and incorporate it into a cartoon. Because if you notice, I think Wordsworth specifically was an amalgam of everything that people thought were cool in the 80s. They were like, rap is cool. You know what also is cool? Stoney's got a new Walkman out. It's got portable music that you can wear on your ears and take with you wherever you want. Also, inline skating. That's a thing. Let's put him on some inline skates. He's a cat.
Also,
that makes sense.
not wearing clothes in public.
Yeah. Except when the cats do. What the fuck?
I have a lot of questions about this.
Yeah, I took vast notes on
copious notes.
on the world of Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats.
We can get to Wordsworth more because I've got
Yeah.
tons and tons of comments about this character.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch this?
Holy
one?
shit! Yeah, I did. I watched a lot of Heathcliff, and I don't remember hating it. That was the craziest thing. I remembered a majority of the theme song up until the point that I couldn't understand and decipher what they were saying.
And it's long too. It's like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It's an anime theme song.
Yeah.
It's a minute and a half.
Yeah, it is.
It's long.
So I remember kind of enjoying it actually. So I'm like getting back and seeing it tonight. I don't remember having any bad feelings about it. But during this time, to your point, Alex, like I had watched not only Heathcliff, but a lot of Garfield and Friends.
Right.
And I feel like Garfield and Friends was one of those things that was always on in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, like the level and tone of energy that any Garfield cartoon brings is not like a cup of coffee for a kid. It's like, you should just not do today. Like, just like hit the reset button on the Nintendo of life and just jump back in bed, friend, because game over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go back to sleep. Just face plant in some lasagna. Just kick a dog off a table, whatever.
Send
But
somebody to
don't do
Abu
anything.
Dhabi, normal.
Sure.
Yeah,
airmail them.
They're just there's and I guess maybe the interesting or the challenging thing is that I don't think that the tone of Heathcliff was any better, but I don't remember it being so bully-ish or so abusive towards other characters that are around. So tonight, this was kind of surprising to actually be able to watch, because in my brain, again, that whole idea that I've had about Voltron effect, where you have this cartoon that you watch and you remember very fondly, and you don't have negative emotions to it. In fact, like your brain is thinking, I love this thing, and then you rewatch it and you realize, oh no, I've made a horrible mistake in my life. Why did I base the majority of my youth off of this? This is one of those ones that it kind of fooled me. I was kind of surprised about not necessarily the animation or how repetitive it was in a Voltron sense. I was really surprised at how abusive these characters are towards one another.
Well,
Yeah, I kind of get it, because it's supposed to be like, we'll get into it with the plot and the characterization, but he's supposed to be like a street tough tomcat.
Right.
Like, that's his shtick in the show, and that's what they decided to go with. We'll get into that. For me, I really didn't watch this because, like Alex, I didn't like it. But unlike Alex, I didn't watch it. I wasn't even a big fan of Garfield and Friends, but I kind of tolerated it a little bit more because it was kind of easygoing, kind of goofy, kind of background. But Heathcliff just never really clicked for me.
Okay.
However, to Sean's point, I think one of the first clues that this is going to be a Dennis the Menace of Cats kind of
yes.
series is the theme song. They literally say, after his name, they're like, maybe you shouldn't be terrorizing the neighborhood. Or terrifying the neighborhood. My argument is that it should be terrorizing, because that's at least a little more correct.
It always
But
sounded,
apparently he's a terrifying force.
yeah, it always sounded
this
like
neighborhood.
terrorizing.
It should be, but for everything I've read and heard, as far as lyrics go, it sounds like terrifying.
Ugh.
But at least we're on the same page. It should be
Oh
terrorizing.
yeah,
Yeah.
This Billy Joel-esque theme song.
So,
Yes.
so should we jump into this theme song?
Oh yeah, we're in it. Are
you gonna read it like a tone poem?
What were your initial thoughts and take on this, Alex?
On the theme song?
Yes, please.
Like as you say, it's long as fuck.
Yeah.
It's catchy. It's a catchy theme song, especially when they get to the like bit at the end. I remember enjoying the theme song when I was a kid, but also it was like a warning to what was coming. Just like, oh, hey, here's this annoying show that you're going to sit through so you can watch Nick Arcade or whatever the fuck is going to come on after this.
Yep.
It's almost worth it. You could have changed the channel, but I like that you stuck with it and like earned whatever was coming next.
Yeah, I think I did enjoy some of it because it reminds me of Inspector Gadget. Like the animation style reminds me a lot of Inspector Gadget, which was also airing at the time, and I was a huge fan of that. So I don't know. I feel like like a lot of shows, the theme song promised too much. Like, hey, look at this cool car. It's gonna transform into a fatter car.
And then a hydrofoil fat car.
Yeah.
And then we never saw it in the episodes we watched tonight.
I actually wrote this down for the theme song. It puts more emphasis on the Cadillac Cats, despite them not being the title characters of the show.
Yeah, surprisingly. I mean, like, Heathcliff gets most of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And a good portion of the action. But then he's outclassed by the Cadillac Cats rolling around town, like a big group of cats. We'll talk about their differences. But they're rolling around town in this, like, transforming super vehicle. And it's like, yeah, I'm a 6-year-old kid. Like, I want to watch that. I want to watch a bunch of cats roll around in, like, a spaceship.
Yeah.
Like, that seems fun. I don't want to watch this weird street cat just, like, pick fish bones out of trash cans. You can't really compare those two. But what's weird is that's the majority of the actual series itself. So, Sean, what about you? What stuck out?
I mean, I definitely agree with you, Alex. Definitely an earworm of a song.
Yeah.
In terms of the audio that they have for this, very fun kind of doo-wop style lyrics that they have.
Yeah.
And I'll even contend that the thing that made this so enticing is the fact that I never really understood all the actual lyrics for the song until today. I had no actual full understanding of what was in there until I actually went and Googled what was in the theme song and took a look at it. And I was blown away. I was like, oh, that's what they're saying. Oh God, it's almost like a song that you hear that you've been singing for years, and then somebody comes along and they're like, you know that's not the right word, correct? And you're like, I know, but this is the way I'm gonna sing it. I'm stuck in my fucking ways. And for this, like, to actually have the internet be that kind of stand-in person and be like, you've been fucking this up for years, that was mind-blowing to me. I was really kind of surprised because, like, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I've been watching like a lot of true crime shows when they have the line that's in here about like, the gang will reign supreme, nobody can deny, they'll make history, and they'll always have an alibi. I was like, wait, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing that
It's
requires
like organized crime cats. Yeah.
What are they doing as cats that requires them to be this organized?
I gotta say real quick, one, it breaks my heart that you Googled these lyrics when I provided them for you in the show notes, but that's totally fine. I understand that nobody.
I mean, but no, before you sent the show notes out,
Totally fine.
You
did not Google this shit at 7 a.m.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. You get one.
Okay.
Everybody gets one.
Oh, boy.
But the second point is that, yeah, I hate when that happens. You think you like know a lyric. Allison and I just had that the other day. She was singing a like Foo Fighters song, and I was like, what are you saying right there? Because that's not the thing that they say.
She's like, she's singing Everlong, right?
Nah, it was My Hero.
Oh no, that's even worse.
There's only like 4 different words in My Hero.
There goes my hero. That's it. That's the whole song.
That's it. But no, it's the same kind of thing. Like when you actually read these lyrics, like we've mentioned a couple of times, it's super long. They're trying to tell some kind of story, but I don't yet understand what that story is, to be honest with you. The fact that like this whole thing wraps up, repeats, Heathcliff, no one should terrify their neighborhood, but Heathcliff just won't be undone. You should realize he can win it with you. The fuck are you talking? What does that mean? What does any of this mean?
I think like it's trying to tell you that he's so charming that he'll get you on his side.
I always thought it was he will be there for you.
Like a friend?
Yeah, like
he's anything but a friend.
I know that now.
But at least that makes more sense with like English. Like, you know, if you're crafting a story and talking about this like cool cat that you want to hang out with, that would make sense. Not what they say. He can win it with you.
Did anybody else get the distinct impression from watching this theme song that there were 3 separate cartoons that they spliced together to make nonsense?
Yeah.
You know, I like that they had original animation for this though.
Yeah.
They had like a little story with the story didn't make any sense, but at least it was an original story with Heathcliff and then the Catillac Cats at the same time. I could have used a roll call because there's about a dozen characters that roll across the screen, but
I mean,
beyond that.
But today, like Dave, to your point, you know, we at least understand who the Heathcliff character is. We have dedicated animation. We've got some actual pretty fun and playful visuals about how much of a little terrorizing alley cat Heathcliff is. Then we almost have this completely separate cartoon that's in a junkyard where it seems like Pimp Cat is going with like 80s aerobicizing cat. And you're like, what's going on here? And then there's almost like an entire separate story about a trio of friends on a Transformer. And I was like, I want to watch that Transformer. Like as we said, I want to watch that Transformer thing. Yeah. That looks fucking sweet. But God, yeah, it just...
I want to watch Transformer Cats.
Yeah.
That hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, it just... I don't think... If this theme song is ending with the line, like, kind of understanding that, like, Heathcliff is going to be your friend and that he can win it with you, meaning that, like, that's a huge dependency to put on somebody. That's a lot of pressure to be like, hey, like, Heathcliff's in a real bad spot. He could get there if he had your friendship, Alex. And you're like, oh, I don't know that I'm that close to Heathcliff right now. Like, I mean, we've hung out a couple times.
I still don't even understand what the hell they're winning though. Like they throughout this theme song, they're like, there's a race to be on top.
I think it's winning at life. I think it's a winning at like it's like a much broader idea of like Heathcliff could become a good reformed person and a contributing member to cat society. Dave, if he had your love and friendship, buddy.
There is not an ounce of that anywhere to be found in this show.
You know, there's another cat who is like Heathcliff, but he doesn't need me. His name is Top Cat. And he's the most effectual. And you know, I feel like Heathcliff is sort of a bullshit version of Top Cat.
Yeah.
And Riff Raff, they both are. They both strive to be Top Cat. And they'll never be Top Cat.
No. Pick any other cartoon cat in existence that is like a title cat. And these two are worse than those title. I don't care who you're talking about.
Battle Cat.
You can even classify Bonkers as a cat, as a bobcat. And they're still worse than Bonkers.
Cringer and Battle Cat.
Yeah. Slash
Oh,
Battle
I love
Cat.
Cringer and Battle.
Yes, Cringer / Battle Cat. Still better than these guys.
I'd rather watch a Cringer show
I-
than Heathcliff, which makes me cringe.
Well, we're kind of transitioning into the style, but I want to say that like my last thoughts on this is that they do something in this show that I love. Whenever they throw out to a commercial, they do a little commercial interstitial.
Yeah.
Yes, I do like
With
that.
some animation where I think we had one where it was like putting a stick of dynamite in front of a dog and blowing him up. And then
Totally normal.
yeah, totally normal. Again, they have done nothing to make you think that Heathcliff in any way, shape, or form is a good human being cat at all. This guy's a total straight up dick. So commercial interstitials, super fun. When they come back from the commercial, they have like a quick kind of like the last animation still that you saw from that interstitial. And then to introduce the episode, they have a dedicated title screen. And I love dedicated title screens for any cartoon whatsoever. So it's always kind of fun to see those pop up in a show.
Yeah, a little bit of splash artwork. That was pretty cool
Right.
too. The Riff Raff one is pretty lame. He's just like leaning on his cane and then he falls over and the cane breaks.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, all right. I guess he'll be fine during this commercial break.
Oh,
We'll see
no.
where he
What's
is
going to
when we come
happen to
back.
Pimp Cat during the commercial?
Yeah, literally nothing. He's just laying there until Cleo comes to pick him up. Before we move on from the theme song, this theme song was actually composed and written, if you can believe Wikipedia, by our buddies Shuki Levy and Ham Saban.
Oh, the Power Rangers fellas.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. I think they learned from this mistake and shortened up their theme songs in the future, made them very repetitive, and made them much more memorable. So,
Yes.
good job, ya fellas. All right, we've already talked a little bit about animation style. So, Alex, you mentioned that it kind of reminded you of like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
So, what exactly stood out to you that made that kind of comparison in your mind, and what did you like or not like so much about the design?
I actually loved the animation. I thought it was awesome. Like compared to other 80s cartoons where they cut corners a lot, Filmation.
Mhm.
The studios that worked on Heathcliff were like, they must have been like working their fingers to the bone, because like this show looks great, like better than it ought to. It has that weird like sort of like faux anime style that I feel like Inspector Gadget has. Very kind of frantic movements, overuse of sound effects.
Ooh, this show hit that mark too.
This show definitely,
Really colorful. And the way the eyes are drawn.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah, it's that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like it's a gorgeous looking show, kind of anime,
Okay.
as most shows in the 80s kind of looked.
Right.
That weren't.
especially when they're drawn and animated by like an amalgamation of Southeast Asian studios.
Yeah.
You could really tell that in some of the background shots, like over the title sequences, especially the outro title sequence when they had that like really cool detailed shot of the junkyard.
Yeah.
The junkyard is like this pile, this kind of tower of junk where the Cadillac Cats hang out, and there's a really cool design of it that's like nicely detailed. That's just a still frame shot. They don't animate it quite that way. The animation of that part is way more kind of pulled from the comic book inspiration. But as far as the still frames, especially like the still frames for the title cards, yeah, those are a little cleaner, a little more detailed. Sean, what about you, bud?
You mentioned this previously, Dave. Dennis the Menace.
Mhm.
For me, Heathcliff is Dennis the Menace and Peanuts cartoons, but
Yep.
for cats.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it had all of the terrible bits of both scattered into it. I'm glad that we mentioned the fact that this really is sort of a Garfield ripoff in some way, shape, or form. I was trying to think of other like dick cats that other than every cat, because all cats are dicks. I was
Right.
trying to figure out other cats that have been in cartoons, and one thing that like popped out to me was the animated version of Fritz the Cat.
Yeah.
That was done by Robert Taylor, but it was Fritz the Cat was originally by
Right.
Robert Crumb, but Robert Taylor animated it, And there are some things that were about this, about like a cat just kind of wearing like maybe like a single piece of clothing, you know. And in this case, like, you know, we had Riff Raff with like a kind of a paperboy's cap, a cane, and a scarf. And so there was always some element to try to humanize them. It was just really weird for me for Heathcliff. They didn't try to do anything. Like every other cat, I feel like had a thing, had some type of like a thing or an article of clothing or a backwards cap. Heathcliff was like, no, I'm just naked and I'm here to fight, which that's terrifying.
Do you think he's the only one who has a home? The rest of them are just alley cats?
Yeah, I guess that's the whole thing that really confuses me, is that he has a warm bed, he gets presumably 2 meals a day, and he's still the world's biggest asshole to everybody.
Okay, as a cat person, this show kind of offends me because I'm like, yeah, this if you grew up watching this, then of course you're going to think that all cats are assholes.
Yeah.
Because everybody in this show is a fucking asshole.
Ugh.
As a person living with a feral cat who's after 11 years is still an asshole, I'm like, this is actually pretty spot on.
Dave, what were your thoughts about some of the animation style?
No, I really liked it. I thought it was just like the comic book had come to life, which honestly is what I kind of think. If you're going to adapt a comic strip, then that's kind of what your animation style should look like. Garfield more or less did the same thing, but they focused in a lot more closely on the characters. So there wasn't a whole lot of background stuff. There wasn't very often a lot of characters in the frame. It was usually just like a 2, if at most it was like 3 characters in a frame. Heathcliff, they actually do a pretty good job of doing like larger action set pieces and playing with sort of interior, exterior angles in some things, especially in some particular sequences we'll mention in a little bit. They did a pretty good job, I think, of keeping the pace up. The humor never really landed for me, but that obviously has nothing to do with the animation style. But the visuals of it kept everything moving. Nothing felt like it was just sitting still. It always felt like it was moving and going along. So to Alex's point too, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was pretty seamless, pretty flawless animation, and it was a quality job. I don't know what it looked like in later years when Deke decided to tighten up the purse strings and just went with their own sort of solo studio. I don't know what the quality looked like then.
You think that Deke was like, this is too good of a cartoon cat. We got to dial this back like a couple notches.
I'm pretty sure they were like, well, if we could pay 6 animation studios to do the thing, or we could pay 1 that we control and get whatever we get out of that.
I just get the feeling like they were pumping out like MS art, like MS Word art. Like it's just,
at that point,
it's just click art of Heathcliff. Clip art of Heathcliff. Jesus.
I don't know if you guys saw the credits, but there's like the credits are humongous. Like,
yeah, that's a long list.
Yeah, the list of writers actually made me laugh a lot because there's like 30 writers.
It's insane. They're like, yeah, one guy, like the head writer, gets like a big font size. Everybody else is just like, you have to get your magnifying glass out on your old tube TV to even see who they are.
Yeah, including Chuck Lorre.
Yeah.
Every fucking Big Bang Theory's Chuck Lorre worked on this fucking show.
Wasn't it Chuck Lorre of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fame too? Who wrote that theme song?
That's one and the same.
Yeah, exactly. John Crick-Falusi was actually in here for some artwork as well.
Ah.
Oh, really?
Saw that name pop up, which unfortunately that name has not done so well in the media recent days, for good reason. But it is a name within the animation circles that is pretty recognizable. So interesting to see which names pop up, and I'm sure there's a lot more. But like Alex mentioned, there's a ton of people in the credits. So it's one of those shows where it's like the quality shows through on screen, but there's so many people behind the scenes that it's almost, you got to wonder, like, at what point where they're just like, this is untenable. Yeah. We've got to cut back because this is insane.
Do you think that they broke up this writing staff? They're like, guys, you guys are going to be the Cadillac Cats. All right. You guys are going to be the other random alley cats. You guys are going to be the family that actually like owns Heathcliff and provides him a bed. And then you three are like our, like, you guys are like our best cats. Like, you're like pick of the litter. And you write Heathcliff. Do you feel like people walked around in that office with like Heathcliff style swagger, where they walk over to somebody's desk and just knock their shit over and be like, what are you gonna do? Naked. I write for Heathcliff.
Just naked.
Heathcliff
swinging around. No, because with 50 people on a writing team, you think at least one joke would have landed.
Yikes.
It was rough. Like, it's not, we'll talk about it in recommendations, but for me, it was not to the point where it's just like, fuck, this is so cringeworthy, I got to turn it off. It was just like, This is a thing that I'm currently watching, and eventually it will be over.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it.
Yep.
But I kept getting sort of slowly losing my sanity watching it, just because this.
I will say, talking animation again briefly before we move on to this cast of characters that we get. Sean mentioned the commercial break messages, which I like. The first time you see them, when they reuse the same ones over and over again, even though we only watched 2 episodes, they get repetitive. So that always kind of irritated me as a kid.
Oh yeah. Watch what I do next.
I've been waiting here for you. Come on.
You'll
Say
win
the
it
same
with
thing
me.
every damn time.
Or
I do like the PSAs they had at the end of the episodes, though.
Yeah, the
Those were
one
fun.
where Heathcliff threatened me.
Which one?
You
Both
keep
of them?
coming around and I'll fucking sock you in the face. And I was like,
Oh,
ooh.
you're talking about the commercial break, not the PSA.
No, I'm talking about both.
The Sonic Says segments at the end.
Exactly.
Exactly. I love that we haven't talked about PSAs in a really long
Yeah,
time
yeah.
because it's like, for whatever reason, the cartoons we talk about, like, not as many of them existed as we remember.
Yeah.
But Heathcliff is definitely one.
you
So
ha-
what were the 2 that we watched?
You have to think for 86 episodes with 86 different PSAs
Oh,
that it's
Jesus.
some.
There's got to be a drug one.
You took the words right. There had to be at least a drinking, maybe a smoking, definitely a drugs one. Guys,
yeah.
I'm on the case.
I hope we have a drunk Heathcliff PSA.
Hey, it's me, Heathcliff.
If you see an unused syringe bottle on the ground, make sure to stick it in your arm.
Because it's a free needle. You're just like, what the fuck is Heathcliff doing? Hey, guys, if you've got a cough, go to a clinic. It's just him waiting in like a vet line. You're like, ugh.
Did you know feline HIV is incredibly... it's running rampant these days. They're all about pets, the Sonic Says segments.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
At least the 2 that we watched, I would imagine.
They're very helpful. How you shouldn't put two fish in a bowl without researching it first. That's actually like
Yeah.
super that's
Yeah.
real.
I like specifically they were
beta
like,
fish?
don't put a piranha in with another fish.
And then name the piranha Chompy.
Champa.
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
Jesus.
He's getting closer to like Bubsy.
What could
Getting like
possibly
Bubsy
go wrong?
level. What could possibly go wrong? More like a bridge too short. Anyway,
We're all playing Bubsy tonight, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be
It's all
streaming this
Bubsy.
later.
it's Bubsy, it's Bonkers D Bobcat,
Ugh.
and Heathcliff.
Yikes.
All the same. I love that the other PSA was just like, if you've got an old dog, make sure to jerk the shit out of him with it.
No, I love the fact that the entire time they're like, old dogs have dulled senses because they're dumb, so put a leash on it. It'll prevent it from getting into a dog fight or walking into the street, which is exactly what you probably want to do with this dog right now. You're like, Jesus Christ, Heathcliff. Also, why are you walking the dog?
I have so many animal questions about what the hierarchy is, what the closed situation is, hot cats versus not hot cats.
So fucked
Oh,
up.
God. Shit, let's
into
get
it,
into
'cause
let's
we're
get into
talking
characters.
characters.
Let's do
All right.
characters. Fuck.
All right, Alex, who stands out for you?
Cleo.
Yeah. God damn
Look,
Nice. Well, we got right to it.
so
All right.
yeah, I know y'all want
That
to
sponsor again this week is Spunk Lube.
Cleo, man, they really whoever designed her was super horny.
Yeah, 100%. Because nothing else in this cartoon is even remotely like, oh, here's a sexy character.
She has boobs, but just 2 of them.
And no clothes.
No clothes, 2 boobs, as opposed to the sex that a female cat should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things never literally line up.
No.
Thundercats,
No.
tiger sharks, I guess. Any of the other anthropomorphic cat creatures.
How many nipples does a shark have?
Hundreds.
Oh my God.
thousands.
Wow.
Basically.
Did you know that a possum actually has 13 nipples, 12 in a circle and 1 in the center?
Ugh.
I did not know that.
So as soon as we watch an animated possum's anthropomorphic cartoon, I want it to be anatomically accurate.
Oh yeah, we gotta watch the Get Along Gang and complain about the anatomically correct possum.
Isn't there one in
100%.
Shirt Tails?
Those nips are in the wrong place. So Cleo,
Dave's like, I'm gonna give it the dip because the nips.
you got nip dipped.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, Cleo. I remember thinking that Cleo was attractive when I was a young child.
100%.
Yeah.
You're like made to.
You're,
It's actually
everybody's
it's
on board with
actually really wrong that they designed her to be that way. Much like Jessica Rabbit was just drawn that way.
Yeah.
Like nothing else in this cartoon looks remotely like that. Looks like a human dressed as a sexy cat.
Yeah, like even Heathcliff's girlfriend Sonia doesn't look like an anthropomorphized cat. She just looks like a fucking cat. So she just looks
She
like
looks like Heathcliff,
yeah.
like a white Heathcliff with a beauty mark.
yeah,
Right.
that's it.
I was doing a little bit of research about Cleo today. Don't read anything. Don't read anything into that. Don't read anything into that. I was checking out Wikia and some fan pages just to do a little bit more of an in-depth. But
Sean just pulled one finger in his collar and just pulled it to the side.
Yeah, I got vaudeville hooked by Alex right now. It mentioned on one of the fan wikis that she is wearing a fur-colored unitard over top of where she is, like that, because you see that they draw lines around like where like the creases are, like for her hips as well as also her shoulders. And somebody wrote on there that like she wears a leotard that's the exact same color as her fur, and to that I'm gonna honestly say bullshit. You guys,
I'm gonna say bullshit.
You guys drew everybody nude. She's wearing just fucking leg warmers, like she's in an 80s aerobics video, which, guys, we've been conditioned to think that that's attractive.
Yes, we have.
Now here, let me ask you this. Well, first of all, Alex, do you believe that that's bullshit like we do?
Yeah, absolutely. The fans are just using an excuse so they have something to take off when they draw fan art.
Oh,
yikes!
That's where my mind went.
Yeah, you're probably right. Alex is doodling right now.
Nothing wrong with that. If Cleo is actually wearing a like essentially fur-colored, or in our usage of the word like skin-colored, nobody walks around wearing just like skin-colored tights or leotards or like a V-neck skin tight, skin-colored. You'd basically be walking around like a nude person. Like that's not socially allowable, especially when everybody else around you looks like a weird little lump of dough with fur stuck on them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's why would you do this?
I'll say the reason that I don't believe it is that if you look at Cleo's character design, she's got like a tuft on sort of her chest, like where her breasts are.
I'm looking right now.
Oh boy. Please read more into that and send Dave help. Again, we are sponsored by Spunk Lube this week. But she has like fur over top. She has like an area that it looks like it is like very soft fur right over top of where her cat inaccurate bosom is located.
Hold on a second. I love that we're talking about the texture quality of this.
No, because if you look at Heathcliff's girlfriend, what's her name? Sonia. If you look at Sonia,
oh, Christ, sorry, I just ran into the wrong pictures.
Yep, sure you did. So if you look at Sonia, she's kind of got very like billowy, puffy, like white cat fur.
Yeah, she's a cat.
Yeah. But then they take that and they put that on Cleo, and you're like, it's the same. It looks like it's the same drawn fur texture that's on there. And then somebody online is like, it's a yellow leotard. Don't worry, she's not naked, guys. And you're like, bullshit.
Cleo's a background extra from that episode of Batman the Animated Series. That's like the Island of Dr. Moreau. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where they're like the hybrid creatures, and just like, no, I'm definitely just covered in fur, and here's a tuft to prove it.
I hate that episode.
That's exactly what
bad.
she is. Because like Sean said, she's got like lines like an action figure would, where they have like opposable joints. Like you can see the lines there. But the leotard excuse makes zero sense unless she's wearing a fur leotard.
Yeah.
Which, what the fuck cat would wear a fur leotard over actual fur? Guys, none of this makes sense. You're just using it to rationalize your weird fan drawings of Cleo all over your house. I'm not speaking from personal experience.
Dave, could you move the camera a little bit to your left? Your fan drawings that you've made.
You actually can see a bunch of like naked lady drawings right there.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
If you zoom in. From Ruben Martinez.
Oh.
Great artist. Anyway, moving on. Are there any other characters in Heathcliff besides Cleo?
I mean, yeah, there are.
Yeah. Wordsworth. Let's talk about Wordsworth.
Oh my god.
This motherfucker.
We've already hit on some points about him. Any particular take, Alex, that you have about Wordsworth that you're just like, this is the worst?
He doesn't make any scene better. He just makes every scene worse. In the second episode, where they're the Kitty Cat Kennels episode, he says a dumbass rap rhyme, and then Hector just goes, huh? Like, he puts himself in the audience shoes. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That wasn't funny. Why the fuck did he say it?
I think it was...
The only one I liked was the one that like didn't quite rhyme because he changed the like tense of it.
Yeah.
And then he changed it to like what the proper wording should have been. I was just like, all right, I'll give you that one. That was kind of
well, that's how you rap.
Yep. White cartoon cat rap. Look, I'll take this opportunity to say, please have your pet spayed and neutered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wordsworth, the worst.
I thought out of the Cadillac Cats, I thought Mungo was kind of endearing.
Mungo was fun.
And I thought that he could be fun. He had kind of a spotlight in one of the episodes that we talked about tonight, which is called "The Farming Life Ain't For Me." I think he's a lovable goof. You know, he takes things. He's the character that takes everything way too literally. You know, he does exactly what you tell him to a fault. I think that sometimes is kind of funny to see with a group of like with Pimp Cat, Business Cat, Sexy Cat, and White Rap Cat. Mungo is like the one that I'm like, oh, okay, like you're just dumb funny.
Yeah.
Like you're dumb enjoyable. Like I don't have to spend any brain power, any cycles thinking about whatever his joke is going to be. It's just you're taking it for what it is. That to me was enjoyable.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like, why would you continue to put this cat in charge of anything? I don't care if it's digging a tunnel, carrying a pipe. Like, just don't do it. This is why villains in superhero shows like always fail, because they always trust their really dumb henchmen to carry out tasks that should be easy, but they know they're gonna fuck them up.
Well, you bring up a great point now, Dave.
Yeah.
Our hot take on Heathcliff right now is Heathcliff and Riff Raff, are they the villains of this show?
100%.
That's a good point. I was actually thinking about like why. Okay, Riff Raff and Heathcliff are the smallest cats. Why are anybody taking orders from them?
That's 100% one of my first questions. Why is Heathcliff supposedly such a tough guy?
Yeah, like did he do something like that made him a tough guy? Like Riff Raff too. Like,
did you kill a man?
Yeah, I believe that Riff Raff killed somebody because he's always worrying about the cops. Like, oh, did you get followed?
I think he killed an actual pimp and took his clothes, and that's why he has like a pimp cane.
They're hiding out in the junkyard because nobody wants to go there.
Yeah.
I feel like Hector, Mungo, and Wordsworth they need somebody to boss them around because they're taller and Mungo we've seen destroy 100 dogs in this show. Like he could beat the fuck out of Riff Raff. Like he has no business taking orders from anybody.
I also want to say as just for Wordsworth, Hector, and Mungo, a callback to the theme song. These are not three people that you want on the witness stand as an alibi for you.
Nope.
They are not going to one is going to white rap his way into like a contempt of court.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
It's the voice I think that if the glove doesn't fit, it's cringe every time. Hector just seems like he would throw you under the bus immediately because he secretly wants to be first in command the whole time. And Mungo, that's why I think for me, like Mungo, there was no power struggle. There was nothing. He was just lovable. But to answer the question that I just posed, I think that they are the villains of this show. Like I think they're the villains of this neighborhood.
And you could argue that Heathcliff is too, because neither of these teams are doing anything that's like productive. They're not really helping anybody out. We can talk about that in the plot a little bit. What's interesting is you never see Heathcliff and Riff Raff together except in like the credit scene, I think.
No, maybe it's like Superman.
So I don't know if this internet theory exists, but maybe we can start it. That Heathcliff and Riff Raff are two sides of the same character,
I think,
like two-faced character.
I think what we're saying now is that Dave is committed to watching all 86 episodes in order to make sure that there's never a crossover scene between the two. You know what?
That's right.
I was thinking about this also on my drive here about the exact same thing. You don't see them in the same room at once, and so the Catillac Cats hang out with Riff Raff unless he's banging Cleo or getting busy, as he says.
Oh, that was creepy.
And then they go to hang out with Heathcliff. Like it's if Riff Raff's banging his slam piece, then then they gotta hang out with the Heath.
Yo, if this show was like real though, you'd never see Riff Raff or Cleo.
No,
like just all the time.
Never.
And there would be so many more cats.
Oh, God.
Unless your pets have been spayed or neutered, and then they're just going at it all the time.
But it would be like smaller, tiny orange cats with leg warmers and a pimp cane, and you'd be like, "This doesn't make any sense, but I'll allow it."
How amazing would that be if like a second generation of Heathcliff and the Catillac Cats came out, and it was like Cleo's litter, but it was like each of the different cats. Like there was like a mini Mungo and like a mini Heathcliff and like a mini Wordsworth.
Just every cat from the entire 86 episodes, like she had a litter from that cat. Yikes. And then it's just and there's no riffraff cat.
No riffraff.
He's like, I gotta go. I'm gonna put my arm awkwardly around her and hover hand real quick. You guys go do some stuff. Yikes.
Let's get into the plots though,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff that we can pull from
my
to kind of
God.
like further flesh out these characters. So we watched 2 episodes, each with 2 segments. Now we watched the first half-hour episode, and we also watched the highest rated, which in my opinion doesn't say much, highest rated episode as well. Which one would you guys like to talk about first? We're not going to go plot-wise beat by beat. We're just going to pull out anything that we have questions on and give you kind of like a high level of the plot.
Yeah, I think we can do an around, like, Alex being our guest, was there one of these 4 episodes that stood out to you that you were like, I have some questions, or what the fuck happened in this episode?
Oh my God. Okay. The Great Puccini. I really want to talk about this episode because
You got to say that again for the folks at home.
the Great Puccini.
Nicely done.
Yeah, it's not a porno.
It's not. He's also not a magician, which I thought he was for half the episode.
I did too.
Yeah,
I was very confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn, this episode not only features Heathcliff but also the Cadillac Cats. So Riff Raff must be getting his business on or whatever. My biggest thing about this episode is that you see copious amounts of cats wearing clothes, driving cars, like putting on a production, and yet there's humans just everywhere too. Like there's humans in this world. Are they turning a blind eye to this? Do the cats run the universe here? Like, what in the fuck is going on?
I think my main question with that is like, all these things are to scale for these cats.
Yeah.
So is there like a complete secondary world that's built alongside the human world just for cats?
Is it like an acid flashback?
Oh my God. If it is,
Probably
this
that.
plays very well into the whole Fritz the Cat, our Crump thing.
Yeah.
But for me, let's start this conspiracy now. I'm loving this. What if Heathcliff is such a bully and a dick because back at home, he's responsible for those 3 humans?
Oh my God.
And he's like, I didn't want them, but like it was like chopping block day at the human pound. And I didn't want him to get euthanized, so like I brought him into my house, but like now I'm angry because they're just kind of terrorizing me all the time. So as a direct result, I'm going to terrorize this neighborhood or terrify.
Let me throw this theory out
Got
there.
it. Do it.
Everything from Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats is Heathcliff's dreams because he's a house cat and he's kept inside all day.
Ooh.
But all he wants to be is like the big, tough tomcat, alley cat, switching costumes, pretending he's riffraff, banging a hot Cleo cat, while also two-timing with Sonia, I guess her name is.
Wow. That's actually a pretty sound theory.
So you're doing like a
cats
like a
sleep all
Dallas dream sequence here.
Exactly.
Nice.
Cats sleep most of the day, so this could conceivably just be his dream.
Holy shit.
Huh.
That's
And when he
really
gets
sound.
tired of like the Heathcliff lifestyle, he just switches over to riffraff lifestyle, and he's like, "Hey,
Oh.
now I'm the head of the Cadillac Cats, and when I'm not hanging out with them, I'm just banging Cleo." That's a good,
It's like
that's a good dream.
Fan fiction. Like he's living his own fan fiction.
Oh my
Exactly.
This-
But it's also kind of depressing because he's just stuck inside all day and he can't ever live that life. Plus, they took his balls.
Also that.
Also, they took his balls.
This is way more sound than the Angelica is dead theory. Or whatever that is.
Yeah. No, then this is creepy.
But yeah, it's weird. There's just like practical things that are never really answered, never really explained, even with a team of 45 writers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say, was there anything particular about the ending of the Great Puccini episode that frustrated you to no end?
Yes. Heathcliff spent the entire time trying to win back Sonia from the Great Puccini, and then she falls for the guy who's behind the mask, basically.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh well, you just spent all this effort into getting your flunkies to do this shit for you, and you exerted like, I think he just wanted the stage time. He didn't give a shit about Sonya. He's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up for a lot of reasons.
It's weird too, because I will say this: they do a decent job in some of this of hitting some comedy rule of 3. So they have Heathcliff dressed as Shrubbery walks out on stage in front of a full audience, a full cat theater
of cats
with a pair of scissors, and he cuts the Great Puccini's it's like his shirt flap, so his
like
gut comes out, and then goes up into the rafters and somehow gets like a suction cup on his head and pulls off his wig. And then like the coup de grace is that he gets a giant fan. Again, he's dressed as a shrub, and and the singer's still singing, and nobody's like, we should call security. We should call cat security. Whatever Pinkerton for cats are, bring them out here. Squirt this asshole off. Catterton. So they at no point in time do anything for this. So Heathcliff walks out with a giant fan, turns it on, it starts to blow Great Puccini off the stage, then like hits the turbo, because all fans have a turbo in cartoons, let's 100%. Be honest. Hits the turbo on this, and it blows Puccini off the stage, and it does sort of like whatever that Blues Traveler video is for Hook. Like reveals the man behind the curtain like singing for him, and they're like, oh. And then you're right. Heathcliff like at the very end is just like, oh wow. And
doesn't give a shit.
And that's it. Like blackout. It's
but also like Sonia, I don't know what's up with her, because she likes, in both episodes that we watched, there's a lot of like not really two timing, because I guess she and Heathcliff aren't together.
No. I don't think they're exclusive.
To Alex's point, it seemed like Heathcliff liked the stage time and the chance to sing in front of people more than he cared about what Sonia was actually.
I don't even think it's the stage time. I just think he likes being a dick to other people.
No, that's definitely true, because he spent the entire time trying to like, prank Sonia and Puccini when they're in the Tunnel of Love, which is another cartoon-only thing, by the way. Have you ever seen a Tunnel of Love in real life?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's invented for teen shows, teen live-action shows and cartoons.
I do want to say that they're when they go to the Tunnel of Love and there is like a fair thing. If you go back and watch that scene, there are two kids that run across the front of the scene as they're doing a panning establishing shot of this fair with the Tunnel of Love. And I shit you not, it looked like Sally from Peanuts running across, but in like a different colored dress. Like it looked like Sally in a Marcy colored dress. Yeah. It was real weird.
Hey, while we're talking about shitty cats and abusive relationships, what do you guys think about Orville the country cat?
Friend zoned.
Okay, so you're talking about the episode The Farming Life Ain't For Me.
That's the
right,
one.
Dave? Was this the one that stood out to you?
Just because, so lately there's been a lot of talk about, this is a new term to me, but incel, so an involuntarily celibate person.
Okay.
Who's essentially just like a toxic piece of shit human being, always male, who is not getting any reciprocation from women apparently, so they're mad about it, so they turn that into like being real bags of shit to people in real life.
Okay.
So anyway, this 100% seemed like Orville to me. He seemed like the type of person that if his affections were spurned, he would just do anything possible to be an absolute piece of crap to the person he supposedly was attracted to. Long and short of it, the Catillac Cats, let's just call them city cats for this point, traveled to the country to visit Cleo's cousin, who happens to live on a farm. She and Mungo, she kind of has eyes for Mungo at the beginning of this thing, so she starts to kind of try to woo him by making him some sort of cake, I believe. Orville, this little skinny, scrawny, kind of hick country cat, has a thing for Lulabelle. But when he sees Mungo come up as competition, he just decides to be a complete shit cat and just try to ruin everybody's day in like really increasingly disturbing ways. Some of the stuff that he says, I was just like, you need to rein it in there, bud. This isn't for love. You're just being like spiteful and shitty.
I wrote down that this episode turned into a Fruity Pebbles commercial.
At which point?
Where he has to go through and try to steal every single ingredient. It starts off with a like, oh, watch me get Fred's Pebbles, and
yeah. I forgot all about
watch
that.
me vacuum up Fred's flour with this vacuum cleaner, spotless.
God.
So then, what's the next thing? It's the eggs, right? They're trying to grab the eggs, and so
grabbed all the flour from the mill, dressed like a chicken to steal all the eggs from the chicken.
Right.
coop.
And then the bees.
Well, no, didn't we have one that was dressing up like a cow?
Oh God.
He dressed up like a cow, but that to try to steal the milk, but he failed
Right.
because there's a dog sheriff who just kind of like hangs out and really likes to like fight crime, apparently, like McGruff.
Yeah.
And he essentially takes Orville down a peg or two, so he doesn't quite get to win the day on that one. But at the end, he tries to steal the honey. This pissed me off too because he said the bees are out gathering honey. I was like, that's not how fucking bees work.
Yeah.
Country bumpkin.
Also, when you whistle, bees don't usually take that as a, oh no, there's a home invasion back at the hive.
Yeah, that's usually not a cue to call bees.
Hey, those cats are our friends.
Yeah. Because, that cat-bee relationship has always been so prominent in any cartoon
strong.
that we've watched previously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, I've never heard a cat whistle, so maybe that is an actual like nature fact.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
I'll talk to Attenborough and see if that's the thing he's ever seen.
those bees are like, hey, those cats are whistling. That's weird.
Time for us to form the shape of a jet fighter
Yeah.
and go after this asshole cat.
I actually love that sequence. It was very.
That was kind of
Yeah.
cool. That was fun.
Like pretty creative.
I think the thing that I don't like about all of this is that I didn't know that word existed either, Dave, about incel. So
Pretty recent, yeah.
This Orville character, he tries to foil the steps to make this cake or this pie every step of the way. He does
Right.
not succeed at any step. In fact, people get hip to this, and then they're like blocking him from even being able to make those moves. So everybody else is playing chess. Orville's playing checkers. They're fucking schooling him in his own game. Then he gets dropped into a series of farm equipment that look like it would have been something that you would have put somebody into Fargo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he should have been just hacked
Yeah.
to cat pieces
Like he's
at this point.
like just bits, just thrown.
Cat
And then he gets
it was a baler, just a baler.
so he gets thrown into this bale of hay, and then at the end he gets rewarded by Lulabelle, who's just like,
And that
who's like,
was the
"Oh,
main issue."
I can't believe when I realized that I saw this happen to you, I couldn't let you go, my love. Like, oh my, where would I be without you? And he gets fucking rewarded for this shitty ass behavior when he
And
should have
I
been
think it's shit
incorporated
like
into a
this.
fucking piece of hay.
I think it's shit like this that it's like the people who are of the mindset of like the incel folk were some of the same people who were writing this, because it's very much like I'm exercising personal relationship issues that I have, but I'm also going to have like the male fantasy dominance play thing where everything works out for me in the end because I was the one who was slighted and I was the one who was wrong.
Yeah.
So the woman is going to come back to her senses at the end and see that I'm the one for her. And to play that out with a bunch of country cats is weird to begin with. But unfortunately, it's kind of like that kind of story and that kind of like, oh, I did a shitty thing or I did a good thing and now I should be rewarded. That mindset is super toxic and unfortunately is still pretty strong today. And I feel like sometimes it's things like this that kind of like root that idea of how relationships are supposed to work in your mind. So
Plant the seed as a kid when you're watching
Yep.
these cartoons about these shitty relationships and how you should
you're
treat
like, oh,
women.
that's how relationships work. I get it.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
He'll go to like the Red Pill subreddit and people are like, you know what cartoon I loved? Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Taught me to be shitty to women so I could eventually bag one.
Yeah. Domestic abuse cat. That was my favorite cartoon I used to
My
watch.
favorite. I got tats of them all over my body.
Got a big fucking tat of riffraff on his ass.
But I feel like the bigger question here is like, why do we want to watch Heathcliff? What is it about Heathcliff from any of these segments or sequences that we watch? Like, what is it about him that we like? Like, even when he's dealing with like a clingy kind of like new cat by the name of Tracer that comes in.
Yeah,
God,
He's
I was
just
gonna say
shitty to everybody.
this was probably the episode that kind of stood out to me was
Yeah.
Rebel Without a Clause.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's interesting because Heathcliff has this moment where he comes to somebody's defense, beats up a bunch of alley cats, like destroys them, pummels them, rescues this cat named Tracer. Tracer is probably, and I'll say this in Heathcliff's defense, Tracer's a little too energetic
He's clingy.
and eager, eager to reciprocate favors. In this token, though, Heathcliff then goes on this rampage of just trying to get rid of him, to do anything possible to get away from him. And you could just see how unhealthy, for a cartoon about cats for kids, and you would think that maybe friendship could potentially be, because you see some of these cats are friends and they're not fighting. Cadillac Cats, Heathcliff not fighting. They could have maybe made a stronger message, but Heathcliff is just a dick through and through.
And I kind of get it because you can kind of see Heathcliff's point up to a point because Tracer like literally attaches himself to Heathcliff, which is like a creepy thing to do. If you just made friends with someone through like a mutual like, you know, defended him on the playground or whatever, like if that kid just like clung to your back and then just like wanted you to carry him home and was like attached himself to you and like surgically grafted to you,
Right.
you'd probably be like, this is fucking weird and you're really clingy and I need you to back up a lot.
Oh God, you know what? I should probably apologize. I'm sorry that I dressed up exactly like you for this podcast, Alex. I'm really embarrassed.
The weird thing is that you're both like nested onto each other in like the exact same pose. I get that you're sharing one microphone, but you don't
Yeah,
need
I mean that's how the studio is: one mic, one chair.
It's true. At least you're not
That is
shape
true.
shifting into a bee or whatever the fuck. Like, there's that part in that episode, right, where Tracer is over Sonia's house and turning into, he's shape shifting
Yeah.
into.
What was that?
Is he?
It looked like Cockadoodle, but as a cat.
Is
He
he?
was like Frankenstein for a second. Like he kept. I don't know what this thing
I don't
was.
think he was a. I don't think he's a cat.
I'm assuming it was like
No.
an Elvis Presley, but he does not look like a cat. He looked like a goat
No.
fox.
Like a donkey, like a donkey thing. Like,
He looks like Happy the Horse from that sci-fi
Oh
series.
my God.
He's like a yellow Happy the Horse.
yeah, I definitely don't think Tracer's a cat. If Tracer the cat came, or Tracer the whatever came into my house, I wouldn't be like, oh, look at this little thing. I'd be like, look at this little thing.
Burn it with fire.
Yeah. Kill
What
it
the
with
fuck is
fire.
that?
Yeah. But that's the other thing that like you can understand why Heathcliff is getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Because Tracer is showing up everywhere he goes. So he's in Heathcliff's home, which is really the only time you get to see Heathcliff's kind of like owners and his family that he lives with.
Yeah.
They take Tracer in.
What?
And then he goes over to Sonia's, and after he's done caterwauling, like, Tracer's already schmoozing with Sonia.
Yeah, he's already in. He's slid into those DMs.
He's already shape-shifting with Sonia.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So, like, you can see why he's upset, but then he literally tries to, like, run him out on the railroad. He softens up at a point, and I don't know if you guys saw the GIF that I sent around, but there's a really awkward bit of animation in this.
Where it looks like Tracer's jacking that one cat off.
yep.
Yeah, he's basically jacking off a train hobo while Heathcliff's holding on to him.
Well,
It's a
was
real
it Muscles,
fun
the
thing to
junkyard
watch.
dog, or was it the other mangy dog that was called Street Meat?
Yeah, Street Meat. It was definitely Muscles. He was jacking off a hobo dog named Muscles.
Because if he was
'Cause
jacking
cartoons are
off
for
Street
kids.
Meat, that would have been the better choice.
They are.
Yeah, it might have been. Street Meat's back in the old town now. So yeah, like, and then there's no resolution again.
No, it kind of like
There's no resolution.
closes out on that jerk off moment.
Yeah, I mean,
it
that's what you pay
closes
for
out with like
normally,
that shiatsu massage that Tracer is giving Heathcliff, and he's like, "Hey, you missed a spot."
Yeah, and then he's like,
Pin-
he's
pinhole-
finally starting to get
pinhole
tired.
fade. Like,
Yeah.
did not need that.
It's super awkward all around. Well, all I'm trying to say is like, there's not one redeeming bit of cell animation in any of this.
I mean,
Is there anything that like stood out to you guys that you actually liked? I mean, the breakout scene was kind of fun. It was a fun little sequence,
so that,
but there wasn't much more to it than that.
Kitty Cat Kennel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that episode wasn't like, they weren't doing anything bad. Riff
Yeah,
Raff.
well, I mean, the breakout, I guess, is kind of technically.
Yeah, but
the
illegal.
property damage.
The property damage was extreme and excessive.
Okay, I want. This is not.
Animal abuse for a pack of dogs.
I do not want to know. Like, what the fuck is this kennel? By the way, on the outside it looks like an army base, and on the inside it's literally like a motel. Like there's rooms.
It's like a
with
posh hotel,
bed
yeah.
For every fucking
Yeah.
cat in there. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Where are the humans? Like, where is Cleo's owner? Where's anybody?
How wealthy is she that she's like, I'm gonna be stuck in this lavish hotel, and Riff Raff's like, I'm gonna come rescue you so you can hang out at a junkyard.
Yeah, when she's like,
I'm moving away my options.
I'm being put into the kitty cat kennel, and when she says that, she's like, she's doing this thing with her like arms in her face, and she's like, oh, this looking like she wants to go there. I don't know.
I also love the security on the kitty cat kennel, which is just like one door with a really heavy duty spring on it.
And you see a person. You actually do see a person, and it's about this.
There is one person.
and it's about the size of Hector.
Yeah.
So I'm led to
It makes zero
I'm
sense.
led to believe that these are giant cats that share the world with humans, unless it's Heathcliff.
I will say, at least for that sequence, that was a fun idea.
Yeah.
Like, she's being boarded, she doesn't want to, so they're like, all right, we'll do a jailbreak. It's a fun jailbreak kind of sequence, and then a bunch of like insanity kind of ensues. But again, not real funny. Just kind of like, all right, this is entertaining, I guess. But at least it wasn't as like patently offensive or abusive as the other
No.
ones, really.
You even have a.
But there wasn't anything redeeming either. It was just like, okay, this is acceptable.
Yeah, the Blanche Dubois cat, I guess, would be great for parents
I've
watching
always
with their
depended
kids.
on the kindness of strangers.
Exactly.
Did we
Which that
really
just
need
came out of
that
nowhere.
in the 80s as a cartoon character?
Yeah.
It's something for the parents.
Oh yeah. What parent was watching Heathcliff and being like, "Hey, that's how all cats treat other cats." Also, Blanche Dubois.
I wouldn't want if my kid's gonna watch Heathcliff, I'm watching it with them. Parental supervision.
There you go. It's a good call.
To teach him everything that's wrong with it. I also liked in the farm sequence at the end, I think, who was it? Orville offers Riff Raff a straw, like a hay straw.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm trying to quit. And they like iris out on that. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
I love the fact that any Cadillac Cat episode with Riff Raff, he always mugs to the camera, winks at the end of the episode, and then it just pinhole kind of zooms, wink, closes out. And you're like, why? Why did we need to break the fourth wall and mug?
I don't think they ever knew what to do with any of these actual stories. They just had like an idea. They're like, that's the thing. Let's animate it. Done.
Okay.
And then we're
New
out.
conspiracy idea. All right. If
Shoot.
this really reflects the idea of 50 writers in a room putting together fucking Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, do you think this was like a fight club between 50 people or sort of like
I
a
hope so.
battle royale where they were like, look, somebody's going to write Heathcliff this month, but it's only going to be one of us. And it's whoever is the last man standing. And that's how Heathcliff came into existence.
I think it's probably that, but it's probably like whoever was the first to get knocked out or pass out is the one who had to write this week's episode.
No, that makes more sense.
I think it's probably that.
He was just bitter and
The only
angry.
redeeming thing in the entire show that we watched for me was the brief glimpses of the Cadillac itself.
Yeah. I remember in episodes they actually do use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I remember really being fond of some episodes as a kid, but this was not a fun trip down memory lane.
These are not any of them. Do you guys have anything else from this before we get to recommendations?
I wanted to know which is the one that was the most highly rated episode out of these two.
It was the Rebel Without a Clause / Farm Life Ain't For Me or something
God, are
like
you
that.
serious?
Yeah.
At a 7.4. The other one, the first episode that we watched, was like a 5.1.
And that was the
Which, honestly,
third highest ranked episode on IMDb. So that means that there is a second highest ranked IMDb episode that we did not watch for tonight.
It's like a 6.4. But honestly, like, I don't see much of a difference between those two. So.
I mean, I liked the kennel episode the best because nobody's
Yeah,
really
sure.
acting like a huge dick, and I thought that Mongo basically hulking out and
Yeah,
and
it was
destroying the
fun.
compound was super funny. But
That was better.
yeah,
Is that enough to save it? We'll find out in a
All
minute.
right. Well, before we get to our recommendations and reviews, yeah, you listening, you guys have comments and you guys have ideas and thoughts and wishes and dreams, and you put them on that live journal of an internet thing, and we scour it and pull in for this week's Love It or Hate It. And to help us out, we are going to turn it over to our buddy Bobby Anthem for this week's Love It or Hate It. Bobby, take it away.
Our love it this week comes from Chris 1993 102 829 725 on September 9th, 2014, in a post titled The Catillac Cats, Part of My Childhood. Chris wrote, "This show is a treasure from the past, a cartoon I really cherished from my childhood. The Cadillac Cats were funny and lovable. I remember growing up with it alongside other shows like Inspector Gadget and Heathcliff. They are all unforgettable cartoons that I will always hold dear. The show had such beauty. They certainly don't make cartoon shows like this anymore, which is really sad. The characters were fun and joyful, and the animation was gorgeous. The cast was brilliant and did an amazing job. I enjoyed every episode of this show, and I really miss it. This show was unique and had style." And our hate it is really more like a didn't love it as much as that last guy. It's a post simply titled The Cadillac Cats. Submitted by Angry Beavers 13 on December 11th, 2004. This one says, "This segment was the second half of the Heathcliff television series. It starred Riff Raff, a short, big talking orange cat who lived in a junkyard, with his sidekicks, Hector, a Himalayan cat who schemed of himself being the boss, Wordsworth, a white cat that spoke in rhyme, and Mongo, a big dumb purple cat. Riff Raff's girlfriend Cleo lived in a music shop, and she is arguably one of the nicest looking female cartoon characters ever. Many episodes revolved around Riff Raff trying to gain money to buy food or trying to buy something expensive for Cleo. Others involved the cats fighting off strangers or intruders that dare try to take over their junkyard. And why were these guys called the Catillac Cats? They were cats that had a Cadillac car. But it didn't just drive around. It could morph into all kinds of things. A hovercraft, a trailer, a submarine, you name it. The Cadillac really was what made the show unique and is what held a child's interest. Sure, Heathcliff and the Catillac Cats were for kids, but I am 17 and I miss this show, particularly the Catillac Cats. I found the Heathcliff segments very boring, and I wish they were back on TV. Yes, they are on DVD now, and that's wonderful, but only a handful of episodes are on DVD. And it would be more satisfying to see every episode released. That would make one of the world's greatest Christmas presents.
Wonderful as always, Bobby Anthem. We love you, never hate you.
Absolutely.
Alex, we want to thank you again for joining us on the show, and
Yes,
we're going to
thank
give
you,
you the
bud.
first crack at a recommendation. So, Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, do you recommend it? And if not, does it get the dip? If you dip it, that means it's erased from all existence for all time.
See, I feel like I don't want to erase it from existence because it's a really great example of how not to make a cartoon about cats. And it does look great. That's the best thing it's got going for it, but I honestly would never be able to recommend Heathcliff to anybody who wants to watch something good.
Fair enough. That's a no recommend, but a no dip. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't erase it. I have too many bad memories watching this show that I don't want to erase.
So we're not eternal sunshine of the spotless minding this one. Sean, what about you?
I, on the other hand, have relatively good memories of watching this. And tonight was rather eye-opening to kind of recap and jump back into the world of Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. I'm going to recommend this with a caveat that you only that you only watch one episode and then you never watch it again. Whatever episode it is that you watch, read a description, read a quick synopsis. It doesn't matter what it is. But I think in the case of Heathcliff and TCC, I think you only need one episode to get the point across, and then you never need to pick the show back up again ever. But you need that. You need that one. You need that one, like Alex said, to set that baseline. So you're just like, this is what you should never do with cats. This is not.
It's like a really. That's about as close to a not recommend, I think, as we've got. For me, I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm not going to dip it. It's fine. It's not. Again, it's not patently offensive. It didn't make me want to throw things through the television. It exists. It's really pretty to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
The quality of the animation that actually went into it was probably well above and beyond what they needed to do. So it makes it kind of strange. The writing team of 50 people, whatever Fight Club thing they had, just wasn't working. It's not great. I can't recommend this to you. If you want to seek it out, go for it. But I'm not going to push
If
it.
I could recommend an episode that I remember watching when I was a kid, and this episode always fucked me up because this was basically an episode.
Heathcliff killed himself.
They only aired it once. Heathcliff's owner, the kid's grandpa, he basically gets Ernest Goes to Jailed, and gets switched with some guy who escaped from prison.
Yeah.
And that's an episode. What? And I thought that the episode ends with this new guy becoming the new grandpa.
Yikes.
And it fucked me up until I looked it up on Wikipedia like 2 months ago.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, thank God. It wasn't actually like a prisoner grandpa at the end.
What's crazy is that there are some plots lifted from movies or plots that showed up later in movies. The weird thing about the one with Tracer was it felt like What About Bob,
Oh my
but
god.
with cats.
I love What About Bob.
which is weird to think that What About Bob came years
Like
after this.
the Tracer scene where they're out having dinner on the porch and Tracer's eating like ear of corn and he's like,
Yeah.
And he's also Bill Murray. Really weird.
Yeah.
Really
so weird. And I mean, years before that movie came out. So what a strange turn of events.
Gosh.
I should have gotten Lorenzo Music to do that part. Or Dave Coulier, I guess.
Dave Coulier.
Yeah. How about both?
Just cut it out. Yikes.
Well, that's what we're going to have to cut out for tonight. So, Alex, once again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What are you up to in the real world? And if you want, where can the folks find you on social media?
Okay, in the real world, you can find me every Tuesday or so at Source Theater in Washington, D.C., playing with my Herald team after Pie. Every month at the Unified Scene Theater, I do a Star Wars-based show called Gravid Watto, where we take people who are super into Star Wars and improvisers that don't know anything about it, and we mix them together. Online, you can find me on Twitter, at dude! All one word, and you can hear me weekly on the One Piece podcast, and every month on Toho Yaro, a Japanese film club podcast.
Fantastic. Sean, what about you, bud? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and
about reigning champion for Super Art Fight right now.
That's right, Super Art Fight. By the time this airs, our show at the Union Stage will have finished, but every once in a while we do shows at the Union Stage at the Wharf in DC, so check that out.
Yeah, they are super, super fun. I was at your show back in January where you won the title fight, and that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, hopefully as this airs, I will still be the champion.
Exactly. Cool. Hey, everybody. I perform live improv comedy in Washington, D.C. with a group that's called Nox. That's NOX exclamation point. We perform with Washington Improv Theater. You can find tickets and times witdc.org. And I'm always on Meowstagram and Catter at Sean Paul Ellis.
Oh my God.
I hope those are actual apps by the time this
they
airs.
Probably will be, but with no vowels.
Damn it. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. You can also find me on Collider.com, Nerdist.com, and DaveTrumbore.com. For more on this little show right here, we'd love it if you'd head on over to Patreon.com/Saturday Morning Cartoons. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can find out all our other contact points over there, and you can also find how you can support this little show. If you'd like to reach out on Twitter, you can do so at Morning Tunes. On Facebook, you can keep that conversation going, and we'd love it if you would. And you can listen to this free audio podcast, now monetized, thanks a lot, YouTube, on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And guess what? We're also on Spotify.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out directly like, Garb?
Yeah, the Garb.
It's Garb, right?
Thanks, the Garb.
At the Garb. I almost called you the Grab.
Nope.
Apologies. Woof. And also apologies for taking apart Heathcliff and the Catillac Cats. But if you want to respond, you can do so at email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. We're going to keep Listener Appreciation Month going all month long, because that's how months work. What's coming up next, Sean?
Oh, are we giving that away?
Sure.
Oh, God. We're doing Code Lyoko.
Code Lyoko. I actually remember this one, but I
do
can't
too.
tell you anything about it.
I think it was like kids that it was like an animated version of like Beetleborgs or something, like where
it was like kids that look like spiders and then they look like computer spiders, and that's all I can remember.
It was sort of like it was like the new version of Reboot, but all CGI animated and decent.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Take that,
new Reboot.
Well, that's where we're going to leave it for this week. So, Alex, once again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to come back for Spider Kids next week, just let us know, because that's where we'll be.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Spider Kids.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.